welcome back to Read Aloud with Mrs. Duncan. Today we're going to finish the book I Survived the American Revolution of 1776. So yesterday when we left off at the end of chapter 17, remember Nate had made it back to the fort, and Paul, he had just been waiting all day, and finally Paul and the men of the Connecticut 5th had just made it back when we ended chapter 17. Chapter 18, 6 months later, February 2nd, 1777, 2 p.m. Nate walked quietly along the dirt road. It was cold, but the sun was warm on his back. He'd been traveling for 3 days. He journeyed by boat and then by wagon, and he was on foot. Very soon his long journey would be over. Nate's mind was filled up with memories of all that had happened to him over the past 7 months. He thought of that scared, lonely boy, and somehow word must have gotten back to Norwalk that Nate was in the Connecticut 5th. Mr. Martian had managed to track Nate down. Nothing could have prepared Nate for what that letter said. Storch was dead of smallpox. Returning American soldiers had brought the disease back to Norwalk. More than 100 people had died. But the truly shocking news came at the end of the letter. Mr. Martian explained that Storch had left no will, no letter saying what would be done with his property. You are your uncle's only living family member. Because he left no will, all of your uncle's assets, that means his money, goes to you. Nate read that sentence about 20 times until he fully understood what this meant for him. For Eliza and for Theo, they could be free. That's why Nate was heading back to Norwalk, so he could get Eliza and Theo their freedom papers. So think back to the beginning when he was at his uncle's. Eliza and Theo were the slaves that his uncle had owned. Captain Marsh, Martin, and Paul helped Nate plan his trip back to Norwalk. They hugged him goodbye. Even Captain Marsh, Paul, then took his ugly green hat and put it upon Nate's head, just to bring you luck. You better come back soon, Paul had said, the flash in his eyes brighter than ever. We're going to win this fight. Nate didn't doubt it. The Americans would keep fighting for as long as it took, but for now at least, Nate's army days were over. He'd seen enough blood. His dreams were filled with horror of unblinking Hessian eyes. Samuel's body crumpled on the ground in explosions of cannons and muskets. He never stopped hearing those British battle drums, that ghostly rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. Even when he was awake, that terrible rattle echoed through his mind. Nate walked more quickly now. He could see the roof of the house in the distance. What would happen next? Eliza would have plans of her own. She'd want to find her husband, Gregory. Maybe Theo could go to school. As for Nate, he wasn't sure. Papa had been right. You never knew what was ahead in life. And these past 7 months had taught Nate something else, that nothing was impossible. A group of ragtag soldiers could take on the most powerful country in the world. One man's words could lift 1,000 soldiers right up off the ground. A terrified boy could become a brave American fighter. And just ahead, the most impossible, happy sight of all, Eliza and Theo standing under the cherry tree. Nate started to run towards them. His knapsack slipped off, but he didn't stop. For the first time in months, the rat-a-tat-tat of war faded from his mind. All Nate could hear now was Theo's voice joyfully shouting out his name. And that's the end of I Survived the American Revolution. I'll talk to you guys later.